Hello everyone, welcome to the new show I'll be doing, which is Deep Dive. I'll be talking about an individual guardian. I'll be talking about their abilities, about their past, present, and future in the game, and how good they are in each game mode. And without further ado, we're going to start with one of the most iconic guardians in the game, Kharkuk. He's incredible, powerful. He has the ultimate skill Rampage. He does two swift attacks, and when he spins around, moves behind the enemy target and attacks 6 times during the spin. This ability is very powerful and potent. I'll be going into the strengths and weaknesses of it later on. You can see the ultimate now, two swift attacks and then 6 times turning around. He also has the skill Bellowing Roar. He casts a roar, this roar increases the damage the enemy takes by 50% physical damage. I have here the wind up. Here is a roar. You see the debuff on here now. Then he has the skill Kharkuk's Rage. The lower his HP is, the more attack he gains, up to 130%, which is incredibly powerful when we combine it with the next skill. There's also a guarding gear which increases the attack speed. I'll be talking about the guarding gears after I finish the spells. We have Last Stand. Once per battle he ignores lethal damage, so he will stay at 1 HP. And he will be immune for the duration of the ability. When it's maxed out it's 10 seconds, which is super powerful in the game. We've talked about the guarding gears now. Like, if you have a Kharkuk, which guarding gears do you usually aim for? You have the guarding gear on Rampage, which gives him immunity to magic damage for the duration. This one rarely sees place because it's only during his AoE, so it's like 2 to 3 seconds where you can go immune against magical damage, so the window is very short. And at times it hasn't worked that well either. So let's just leave it at that. We have the Bellowing Roar, which makes him unable to dodge for 5 seconds, which isn't too bad. Maybe if you fight somebody like a Mirror in arena and she's giving you trouble, you can use it, but it's not meta either. The next two guarding gears are the two ones which are meta. One is for Kharkuk's Rage. It increases his attack speed by up to 100% the lower HP he goes. So he will hit faster and he will also do more damage, which is really powerful. It's one of the things where he can just turn around the fights despite being low life. He brings down a bunch of guardians with him. And then we have Last Stand, which is when his Last Stand gets procced. He will trigger 800 points of energy return, so he goes from anywhere from 200 to up to 1000 energy, so he can cast ultimate immediately, which means he can instantly cast ultimate after it gets procced, because most of the times he already has at least 200 energy. And these two are my opinion, the best guarding gears for him. This one will in theory do more damage if he's alive and hitting a long time. This one will give him a lot of burst, because he can maybe get an ultimate into a second ultimate. It's, in my opinion, also really strong on Kharkuks with lower Enlightenment and Radiance, which don't carry as much punch themselves, but getting a faster ultimate can be crucial. Also to go on to a different positioning. If you're talking about the history of a Guardian, we have to talk about why is this guy so special. There's a reason I'm doing the first video about him, because in the history of the game he's basically a standout Guardian. He might be the best Guardian and good of Guardians, period, and if we go from all time. First thing, and in Endless he's been meta since we've discovered how broken the damage scales on the enemy Guardians and the enemy monsters which you fight in Endless. They will one-shot basically any Guardian at some point in time, but he has the immunity Last Stand, so he stays alive and he can survive when no other guardian can survive, and when you try to burst down the enemy during this duration, and that always made him powerful. Boss rush, same. The boss rush bosses do so much damage at some point in time that he's like one of the only guardians that can survive hitting them. Arena, we started out with a meta even way more crazy than now. It was like so super bursty. Some games were over in a couple of seconds. You had Starista two-shotting your backline with auto attacks. You had people also didn't itemize as defensively now at the top than now. Games were like over in a fucking snap, and he could survive, he could stay alive, he was your front line, bought you more time on the back line, he could buy more time when you paired him with Salve, and Kharkuk plus Salve combo could completely decimate teams on their own. That's super powerful. And yeah, that's the history of Kharkuk. I'll be going about how good is he right now. So how good is Kharkuk right now? Right now Kharkuk still sees playing endless. There's still a strategy where you try to kill enemies in a certain time frame and he's able to tank them. He still sees play in boss rush because he can survive the very high damage, and he amplifies physical damage as well. And he can also change the direction of the boss. He's still good in arena. Not completely top tier anymore because the game isn't as bursty anymore, so staying alive for 10 seconds isn't as big as it used to be. He's certainly still seeing play in 50v15 because he's definitely the top guardian for that mode. Guild boss, he's nothing special. He can help you to get past the 750k mark quite well though, because he can do a lot of damage during the immunity and help you to get past that breakpoint. That's when you get the maximum amount of rewards from Guild Boss when you hit 750k. Special events is rarely used, and I don't think it's going to change. So how good will he be in the future? Unless we do big changes, he's going to continue being top tier and wanted in both boss rush and endless for his ability to stay alive in basically any situation. He's still going to see play in 50v15, and he also has certain comps where he does well in arena. So I do not foresee him becoming bad and not used anymore. So I would consider him to be a good buy overall. We could talk about now. Let's talk about the individual game modes and what makes them special. What makes them special in these game modes. And we can also add some gauntlets. Oh yeah, one thing to keep in mind with how good is he and is he worth to buy. He is a founder hero. He comes at a bigger price. He starts with Enlightenment 8 and Radiance 3 though, so look at it from a perspective that it's already like 3 copies in him because he starts at a higher Enlightenment Radiance, so the price isn't as bad. And we also already had at Anniversary one special event which was founder only. I don't know if they're going to repeat something like that, but if we get events like that again, he's obviously going to shine. Yeah, I want to start with Endless though. Why is he so good in Endless? I have used Kharkuk basically for the last 1.5 years to many rank 1s. I always add him to my comp, basically no matter what happens. His damage isn't as high. He's a Redeemer. Redeemers have the weakest runes in Endless, which just increase your attack speed. Well, it depends. On certain Guardians, Keeper is worse because you don't care about the damage. At least it helps to get faster ultimate as well, which is useful. His damage per se isn't that crazy. Since it's 5 enemies, usually AoE is just king. And you also use magic damages, or you have used them in the past primarily. So we bonus damage from Lowering Roar isn't as powerful because it's physical damage. And yeah, but why does he get played so much? Why do I always put him in my team? That's simply because of Last Stand and Rampage, but primarily Last Stand. He's able to survive getting hits no matter how big the damage comes. If there's a 100 million attack, he's gonna stand tall and he's gonna fight, he's gonna stand his ground. And that's one of the biggest reason why he is played. You can tank bosses as well. Bosses are CC immune. So you need somebody to be able to soak the damage from bosses at higher radiance. There's a strategy of pulling everyone in with a Gwyn and charming them with a Helia ult, but there are still some enemies like elementals and certain boss types which are immune to any form of CC. And this is where Kharkuk comes in, because he can survive 10 seconds of the onslaught. And that's the time of which you need to kill off the boss or the group. That's it. Usually you get hit 2 seconds after start of a battle, at the start of the window, when you have a travel time of ranged attacks, and he procs it at 158. And when his immunity starts, and at 148 you have his immunity expiring. You can combine him with an Aquarius to buy additional time of immunity, so you can chain the immunities together, and you can buy even more time where he stays invulnerable, and you can try to kill the enemies and buy enough time for your team to kill them. We've seen this a lot. We saw Leah in the past being played, which does a burst in the first 5 to 6 seconds with like Grizzle doing a double ult, and in that time frame you're immune with Kharkuk. You can also help to keep the enemy group stacked up with Kharkuk, because you can charge into the enemies and the melees will follow him and everyone is going to be close together. That's the other advantage. Rampage you can use to get behind the enemy lines, make them turn around, so certain abilities don't hit your party anymore. AoE is too far now to hit you on certain abilities. Cone-shaped abilities won't hit you anymore either. And both of these are super powerful in Endless. Zance's damage isn't as high in Endless. I play him mostly with Last Stand to get my ultimates off. Yeah, that's why he's top tier. Like, I can replace my carry, and obviously carry damage is incredibly important, but I still haven't found a great replacement for Kharkuk. Maybe one of the 2 new tanks can do it as well, but they have also their limitations. He also has the turn Rampage to get behind them. He also buffs physical damage, which can also be helpful to kill enemies quicker. Also, if they're mind control, they take like if you mind control an archer, for example, and he shoots the boss and you buff the damage with Bellowing Roar by 50%, that's huge. Let's move into Boss Rush. Why is he good in Boss Rush? Bosses do insane amounts of damage. The more damage they take, like the higher the score goes up, the higher the hits will be, and they will reach eventually a point where they one-shot basically any Guardian. We're starting at the point where maybe Osiris can tank them, but then you need certain itemization. You need to have him high enlightenment. You need to have a healer to keep him sustained, and then you're already having multiple Guardians used just for that alone. This is a video from Kharkuk where he is going to cast ultimate through a boss. He's now on the other side. You saw how T-Rock turned around. Once T-Rock turns around, his ultimate will also hit and splash this area and won't hit and splash anymore here. So more Guardians are safe from his AoE. You also have the Solas boss, I don't remember the name right now, which does a cone-shaped ability, and this cone-shaped ability would hit your entire team usually and wipe them out or silence them. but if he turns around to the other side, it won't hit them anymore. So both the ultimate to turn around the boss, the immunity to stay alive against the high damage hits. You see how the damage goes up every time from his auto attacks. Like it starts with 395 and 475. The damage goes up every time the score increases. So if you have 5 guardians hitting him, the boss will quickly do a multi-million hits, 10 million hits and plus, and being able to survive 10 seconds is super powerful. You can also combine it with the Quirus again for even longer staying alive. He also has a shout ability, which increases the physical damage the boss takes by 50%, so he's great to pair up with guardians like Theodore, Liska, Drip. So these 3 things are what make him really powerful. In theory, can also put him full damage, go with the attack speed guardian gear, and also do okay damage. But mostly the game is about maximizing the damage of one guardian, like power buffing them with things like Forid and Grisel to get them do like 100% more damage, and then they just go past all the other guardians. When we have Arena, it used to be an absolute must-have in Arena. He is not anymore because the game has slowed down significantly. We have more defensive stats now from Guardian Gear because you have both def and HP on it. Even the glass cannons, which used to only go for attack, now also have def and HP. Valor usually increases def, HP and attack, and we even have things like flat damage, percentage damage reduction, currently with 25%. We had crit defense in the past as well. So the meta has slowed down significantly. So him being alive for 10 seconds isn't as big of a deal anymore because more guardians are able to stay alive for 10 seconds, and maybe they offer more to the battle than he does. The other thing was he was going to absolutely melt targets during his immunity, but since everyone is more tanky, it doesn't blow them up as much either, and both of these combined made him a lot weaker. What makes him still very strong is obviously the staying immune, the ultimate to go into. He immediately starts running forward at the start of the fight. The ultimate goes deeper into enemy lines. So he's going to be at the backline, which makes certain hits not hit your backline anymore. Certain AoE is limited by its space, and he can change where the ultimates land with his ultimate. His ultimate actually does a lot of damage as well. Just the AoE attacks alone with 570% attack, and he also swings 2 times before that, so he does like 770% attack, which is insane, especially when you combine it with Kharkuk's Rage, which makes it one of the hardest hitting ultimates actually. So you can really blow up people, like especially if you also get the Bellowing Roar as well, and you're low HP, all of a sudden you can get close to one-shotting certain guardians with your ultimate, especially if you got crits to cause chance, crit damage, or armor penetration. One of the combos he's always played with was Salve. He increases the damage that Salve does if they're both on the same target with Bellowing Roar. He buys time where Salve's ghost is going to stay alive, like everyone else could have been wiped by AoE, but you have Kharkuk standing 10 seconds, and you have a Salve ghost hitting people, and in these 10 seconds there were so many games I already won because Kharkuk plus Salve cleaned them up. So that's still really powerful. Let's say you have really strong backline, like you have a Liska with super much power, or a Kai that's really melting the enemy team, but you have the issue that your frontline is dying too quickly and then your backline gets overrun. That's something Kharkuk can also help you with, because he will buy you enough time. First, I have to remove his HP bar, then he goes 10 seconds immune. If you got healed during his immunity, you will also have to go through the next HP bar, so he will always buy you a certain amount of time. So even when 8-3 baseline Kharkuk is a great frontline in Arena, you also don't need him to be high enlightenment or radiance for boss rush or for endless Eva to be useful, because it's all about immunity in the other two game modes, and here he's the immunity is super powerful too. The physical damage buff is decent as well. Maybe not as powerful as in boss rush, but because you don't hit everyone with it, and who knows who's getting targeted right now and where he is. Like maybe he's in the backline and he's shouting on somebody that's not getting hit by other guardians. But yeah, he's really powerful even at low enlightenment and radiance, so I certainly would consider him. But in arena, it's actually also where he really shines if you get on high enlightenment and radiance, because in arena he's going to be a threat as well if you get him stronger. Like you see, you see how big of his attack increases. Maybe you also go with attack speed, or maybe you go with the last stand. Either way, his ultimate can do crazy amounts of damage, especially if you get the shout off before. So a high enlightenment and radiance Kharkuk can devastate enemy guardians. So that's a strength in arena. He's still getting played by a couple of top players in arena, not as much as he used to be played, but he still gets played sometimes in arena. Now we move to 15v15. We just had one where there were no restrictions for legendaries, so you had up to 5 teams with 5 legendaries. He 100% saw play in there. I saw him in almost against any top team that had Kharkuk at least one of the lineups. When we have few restrictions, you can still consider to run Kharkuk. He's still going to be great with things like Salve, like the simple Salve Kharkuk combo is just really nice. You just buy enough time for Salve to clean up the enemy, and Kharkuk will also help to do a bunch of additional damage. So I will foresee him being used in 15v15 for quite a bit longer. Especially on the unlimited legendary 50v15 events, I would think he will be played long term there. Will he be always played in arena and 50v15? That heavily depends on the meta, how fast the meta is. It also depends on the Valor season, what kind of things they put in there, how the itemization will change in the future. But I'm confident I will pick him in 50v15 in multiple cases. And when we talk about Guild Boss, he will buy time with his immunity, but usually the bosses do AoE damage, so the rest of your team dies. You can combine him with a Salve or something, or with physical damage, and he will increase your damage by a lot with Bellowing Roar. It averages out to like 30% damage increase overall, because the uptime, with the uptime and the duration being so high. I think Kharkuk is decent in Guild Boss, but is like not going to save your backline from the AoEs and from also dying. It will help you to reach the 750k, where you get the bonus, where you maximize the mats you give your guild and the guild coins and stuff you earn. So he's not bad per se there, but he's like not top tier at all. We have special events. Special events are usually not where Kharkuk shines as much, because you want to min-max already from the start. You don't want to die in the first dozens of rooms, and that's where Kharkuk is still weaker. Like his immunity is only 6 seconds in these. His physical damage increase from shout starts at a measly 10%, which is kind of awful. So he might get better and useful later on, but many cases you can't kill the boss in the certain time frame, either in 10 seconds or like maybe 15 seconds. And then another tank will do better, or somebody like an Aquarius also can outperform him with getting a second ultimate off on the front line to make them live overall longer than this immunity. So he's not crazy good in special events. When we have gauntlets, and he struggles in gauntlet actually. The big issue is his ultimate still does really good damage in Gauntlet, but his Bellowing Roar is awful. It's 10% baseline because in Gauntlet legendaries only start with rank 1 of every ult, so he spends like 2 seconds to increase the damage by 10%, which feels like a waste because he would do more damage just attacking. Kharkuk's Rage, I mean, it's okay. His immunity is also okay, but in Gauntlet, it's not powerful enough to stay alive 6 seconds. Usually, Guardians can also survive a lot of times till ultimates, and that's when the immunity is long past. You rather have some better mitigations or CC, so he's not as powerful there. So yeah, I think that's covers. Oh, we still have adventure mode, I guess, but it's been a very long time for me since I've done adventure mode. I think they also are working on changing up adventure mode. I mean, he was useful in adventure mode because even if you got, if like what a lot of people did was get a super strong carry, maybe buy one or build one, and burst down the enemy, right? But then oftentimes where tanks fell behind, they weren't high enlightenment, they weren't high radiance, they didn't have gear while rushing through, and then they got one shots by the enemy, and then it kind of all fell apart from there. Kharkuk still is there, he's still standing strong, he will still be give his immunity, he will still help you in adventure modes to buy you the needed seconds to kill the enemy in a lot of cases. So I think he's good in adventure mode, and he will definitely see play in adventure mode if he have it become more relevant again. So yeah, that's the deep dive about Kharkuk. I hope I could give you some nice information about him, about his strengths and weaknesses. I will foresee him to still be played in multiple game modes in the future and to still have value. He's not going to be the clear-cut best Guardian in the game, which is played in every game mode at all times, but he will still see play, and it's always nice to play him. I got him to Radiance 10 actually. It was one of my first Guardians, and I haven't regretted it at all yet, and I don't think I will. So thank you very much for tuning in. See you around.